Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Casey's offers a wide selection of plants, landscaping materials, home and garden decor, and gifts for every occasion. Casey's is committed to providing exceptional service, a unique shopping experience, and value to every customer. Stop in and see what makes Casey's so unique. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana, or call 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home. Welcome to Strong Dads. Man, Kyle, you got all kinds of garbage on my floor. What are you doing?
I do. You guys can't exactly see it. We're going to bring it to the camera. We'll show it. I have all my fire gear here with us today. Yeah. We changed our whole setting up. We got the fire gear
We're down
here
at the bar. We're all good.
I like it. This is good. It's
good. Hey, we're coming today through Strong Dads. We had some conversation. And Kyle's a firefighter, as you know, and we're in the month of September and talking about 9/11, the 20-year anniversary.
Yeah.
And the conversation kind of went after that about the whole idea of the equipment and the call to protect.
Yep.
And how the firefighters, this has kind of been their month to really celebrate and really memorialize what happened 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so as Kyle and I were talking, he's talking about all this different equipment. And I'm like, I just carried one piece of it down today. And I'm like, I don't know that I could do this. and I think part of what really even got me thinking was, I know they do a competition where the Twin Towers is like 110 stories or something. And they do a competition with firefighters who are fully equipped with all their protective gear, and basically to see, one, whether they can climb 110,
get up there,
but then how fast. And after I'm picking all this stuff, how much does all this weigh?
Man, I've heard. Maybe one day I should actually weigh this.
I don't.
I've heard. We'll just say 60 pounds. We'll go 60 pounds is probably a pretty standard, because there's different variants. So for my pack that I carry, and we'll show here in a second, my pack is going to be different than a different fire department. They're going to carry a different kind of pack.
Okay.
So the gear itself is going to vary a little bit. Mostly the variance is going to come in the actual SCBA. The actual gear is a pretty standard set. There's multiple layers that come into it, but as we're talking with the 110 flights that the competition that they do now in remembrance and an appreciation for what those guys did on that day. The crazy thing is that a lot of people, they forget that 110 flights of stairs that they had to climb that day, that was just to get to the job site, right?
To the work, yeah.
And then the work actually started, and to think about those guys carrying all this gear, going 110 flights or 85 flights, however many flights they had to climb, and then they had to go to work. Then they had to, work on actually rescuing people and getting, extinguishing the fire. And then obviously we know everything that happened that day and the tragedy that happened with the buildings falling. But it's just crazy to think that those guys took on that challenge, knowing that, every day I go to work, there is a potential that, it could be my last day, right? And those guys, no different. They knew going into those buildings that the potential was the catastrophic, potential was there.
Yeah. One of the things I saw in an interview last weekend was one of the chiefs being asked, when they brought all these firemen in and they said, okay, here's the deal, basically what's going down. Did any firemen not do what they were told to do in terms of going in? And he said, not one.
No.
All of them were ready to go right in. And what was the final death count of firemen?
Yeah, so
first responders?
343 firemen actually died that day.
343, and they were running into the tragedy, into the fire.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to talk about today, we're going to go through some equipment, all right? But we're going to talk about the call for protection.
Yeah.
As strong dads, we have become so soft in our culture about the idea of other things, whether it's security cameras or we'll hire a bodyguard or someone else will protect us, that we've become so soft and passive that we don't even, many of us men do not know what it would be to run into the flames, to actually be the guy who steps up. And part of our show here is to not say start running into the flames.
Right.
It is to prepare.
Yeah.
Prepare yourself with the right equipment, with the right training, on all different types of fronts that we're going to be talking about today that we are called to protect our family and our wives and our community in. So, Kyle, let's get started on some of this equipment. All right, like I'd pick it up, but it's too heavy. So you pick it up. Let's start with look at this nasty, dirty thing. This
is my fire helmet. This one I got when I first got hired with the city of Dayton. So I got hired in 2014.
I probably shouldn't put this on. It mess up my hair.
That's all right. Your hair looks.
You got a little head. How did you even see anything out of here? This is insane.
So
and it still smells like smoke.
It's gonna smell. So one of the really cool things about all of our helmets is, and a lot of people don't know this, on the back of all of our helmets we have our accountability tags.
Okay.
So our accountability tags are every morning when I come into work, I take my accountability tags and I put them on our accountability board. That our my fire officer he has there. So when we talk about that protection. Yes, my gear protects me inside of a fire, but my accountability, knowing where I'm at inside that fire, is signified by these little tags. They have my name on it. They get attached to my apparatus. You throwing my stuff all over.
That's all right. It's not important.
So it's a piece of Velcro. It's got my name and my rank on it. And what I have, like I said, I put that on my accountability board every morning. And then my captain, when we get a fire that later on that day, he'll take that accountability board and he gives it to an accountability officer. So that person on scene, their sole job on a fire scene is to keep accountable of everyone inside of that fire.
Wow.
So as much as this helmet obviously protects me from falling objects, my accountability tags are very, very important. It's something we do every single day. I know one of our first shows we did on the idea of protection, we talked about my fire gear.
Right.
And one thing that I had talked about is every morning when I come into work, I get my gear set up exactly how I need it to be set up to make sure when that call comes in for a fire, I'm ready to go. One of those really important things is my accountability tags.
This one actually, I'm assuming from heat
is melted,
is melted. And it's curved.
It makes a little
just from being, so that's on the base of your helmet, and you're out in the fire, and it's gotten so hot that it actually started. That's nice. That's why your brain's messed up.
So before you make any comments, this helmet has actually been condemned. So I no longer wear this helmet anymore. It's seen too much heat. So we also have our training center. They go through and they make sure our gear is in proper working order.
Yeah.
So this helmet is no longer in service. So this is now my training helmet. So whenever we go to trainings, I throw on this one. So before anybody puts comments.
Yeah, I know. I like that. No.
So yep.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing is my helmet. The next thing I always make sure is my jacket. So all of our fire gear, we have 3 layers to it. So we have our outer layer. Then on inside of that, then we have our thermal liner and our moisture barrier. So obviously with moisture inside, you get steam burn. So inside of a fire, the moisture actually can cause you to have steam burn. So moisture is not a good thing inside your fire. Inside your fire gear, moisture is a really good thing.
I never really thought about that, especially when you're spraying water.
Absolutely. Yep. So this is my fire gear, and then obviously on my fire gear, I also have my gloves, and this is something. The guys at my firehouse, we try and do. A lot of people, when they before they go into the fire, you'll see firemen trying, because again, your heart's racing, you want to get in there, right? Especially if someone needs your help right now. So a lot of times we'll have people sitting outside trying to put their gloves on, and it's typically the last thing that goes on, just because you getting everything else on. So I have practiced putting my gear on with my gloves on so many times that I'm very proficient, because your dexterity in these gloves is awful. It is awful. Yeah. So I have practiced coming off of the truck with my gloves on, because it is one of the last things that typically guys put on, and they struggle with it. You'll see guys put the gloves on backwards on the wrong hand. Right. So while I'm in the cab of the truck driving to the fire, when I'm a little bit more calm, I put my gloves on to ensure that these are no longer the last thing to get put on for me. These are one of the first things I put on. So I have practiced it so much. And again, this is going to the idea of protection. Like I've prepared myself and I've trained myself with putting my gloves on first, because I understand that if in the heat of a moment, my emotions are going to take over, and I'm not going to be able to find which hand goes where, when your adrenaline's rushing. So this is something I have practiced a lot to ensure that I get my gloves on first to make sure they're on there.
So you throw those gloves on, and then, do you zip?
So yeah, so it's all
Velcro and all that with like I can't.
We have a 2-minute drill. Is
Okay.
the when I came on in the fire service, 2-minute drills, you had to get all of our gear on in 2 minutes, breathing air. So that standard has come down a little bit, but I still hold myself to that same standard. I want to make sure I can get everything on in 2 minutes. So I'll put my bunker gear on, or my bunker pants, my jacket. I'll put my gloves on, everything zipped up, ready to go. I'll put my Scba on, which I'll pull up here in a second. So when I talk about doing with my gloves, one of the last things that get put on before you go into a fire is obviously my Scba, my breathing apparatus, right? So this is my breathing apparatus. So this will be on my face, and this is attached to my Scba Pack that's on my back. With my gloves on, I can do this. If I close my eyes, I can do it, and it's a quick turn, and that's when I get my air. That's when air comes in. So I've trained myself to do that with my gloves on, which there's not a lot of guys that are doing that. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I understand for myself, I have to be able to do that because I've put my gloves on the wrong way before, right? And then you look like a dummy, right? So I have practiced it so much that's really important to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So my obviously my bunker pants are sitting here, but so the next thing is my Scba Pack. So this is again where the majority of the weight's going to come.
Yeah, that thing alone is probably, I'm going to guess, 25 to 30 pounds.
Yeah. So big misconception, this is not oxygen. This is compressed air.
Yeah, I know. He called me out on it. I'm like, I'll carry your oxygen down. He's like, bro, firefighters don't carry oxygen. Oxygen and fire doesn't
They don't go well
together.
Right. So so every morning I will come in and I will check this. I will make sure I have my cylinder is what I want it to be. So these cylinders for where I work at, these are 45-minute bottles. This is supposed to last me anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. It's got 4,500 psi. So this is a again, this is my lifeline. This is what gets me home to my kids and to Jenny every day. So every morning, and I'll just turn it on just so you guys can hear it. Every morning I'll come and I will turn this on and make sure it's operational. So
basically, you just allowed air to go into that regulator.
Into the system. So in my mask, I have lights that tell me how much air you see the lights in there?
Oh yeah. Okay, I see it.
So there's lights in there that give me. So when this is on my face, this is I'm able to see exactly how much air is still left inside of this. Mm-hmm. So here I'll just put it on.
But, you're ugly enough. Go ahead and put that thing on here.
So this is my system that I have to. What you heard, it went into what's called pre-alert mode. So if I stand still for 20 seconds, this is going to start to beep. If I stay still for 30 seconds, that's when it's going to go to full alarm mode. That's when you're going to hear.
So that's for other people to hear. Like
Correct.
You're down. Wow.
So
okay.
that is an indication that there's a fireman that's down, that needs help.
Wow.
So that's a kind of a it's a last resort. So if you're hearing that, that's typically not a good sign. So I'll just shut this off so we can keep talking.
Wow, that's crazy. So what kind of heat can that thing handle?
So these get tested every 5 years to ensure that they are not. It's a carbon filament that gets put over top. So as far as temperature goes, I think these are my mask, and I don't know the exact specs as far as when they start to melt, but they melt at like 400 or 500 degrees. That's when you start to get some bubbling, and it may fail, and then you'll have to get tested for this. So I get fit tested. So every year I get tested to make sure that this still fits my face. So this is also why you won't see firemen with beards. So firemen are not supposed to have beards because when we go put this on, the hair on your chin will actually won't give you that proper seal that you're going to want with that.
Plus, I would imagine, you don't even see firemen with long hair because it singes really easily.
Yep, typically not. So so that's my Scba pack that I wear. So then obviously we have my.
Hang on, I'm trying to wear them.
my bunker pants. So with my bunker pants is my Nomex Hood. So whenever you see a fireman going into a fire, you do not want to see skin. So we try and keep all skin covered. So this Nomex Hood is probably one of the newest parts of the fire gear. So back in the old day, guys knew they got in too deep when their ears started getting a little hot. So now we wear our Nomex Hood, which covers all that. That gets wrapped around our face mask that goes on. So that kind of seals up everything. That's supposed to seal up our entire face.
Yeah.
So then we have our bunker pants. Again, the exact same 3 layers that are on my jacket are also on my pants, and then obviously I have my boots that go, they're leather boots, steel toe. So one of the cool things, I have leather suspenders, which I love. And since we're talking strong dads, right?
That's right, yeah.
So I have both my girls' names stamped inside my suspenders.
Cool.
It's kind of just again, a reminder that as much as I love my job and I love what I do, getting home to my family is top priority.
Yeah.
Is 100% top priority. So, in all my gear, I have odds and ends stuff. I have chocks to be able to, keep doors open. I have webbing that I have. I have some cutters. So, drop ceilings. We may get, wires that come down. I want to make sure I don't get caught up on those. So having odds and end tools like that. There's some guys that don't carry anything. Some guys carry a lot. I try and be like right in the middle. I like to have a few odds and end stuff. So yeah, that's kind of a breakdown on my fire gear.
So how long, the boots, they look pretty new. I mean, they're a little dirty, but they look new. So, you go through boots every year or what?
Well, so again, because of where I work and the amount of work that we actually get with structural firefighting, we do every year or every quarter we do quarterly gear checks to make sure our gear is again in working, operating the way it's supposed to. So all of our gear after 10 years is not supposed to be in service anymore. So after 10 years, you're supposed to get a whole new set. Where I work, I'm very fortunate. We have 2 sets of gears. So when I go into a fire, I come out, I wash my one set, I have another set of gear to put on.
Okay.
So because again, when it comes to protection, if I have dirty gear that has been saturated with carcinogen and stuff, the protection that I'm going to get is not going to be as good as it's supposed to be. So after every fire, we're supposed to wash our gear. We're supposed to put our new set of gear on to ensure that this stuff gets proper time to dry. Again, all going into that idea of protection.
Yeah. Man, this is crazy stuff. So not only do you have all the equipment, but then you have to learn to use the equipment, right? So you talked about the drills and the practices and all of that. I can imagine, the first time you ever strapped all this on, it probably took you about an hour and a half, right? And now you do it in 2 minutes.
Yeah. Well, just little things like putting both feet in your boot at a time. Most people put one leg through to stuff like that. It takes a second to get used to that. These fire gloves, your dexterity. If you were to put these on, people do drills. There's firemen that do drill that try and pick up pennies with these to try and really get your dexterity down, because dexterity inside these is really, really difficult. So something that we train on a lot, because your dexterity is so hard in the middle of a zero visibility fire, I don't know if I'm touching a pillow or if I'm touching a baby. Yeah. So we talk all the time about because you can't feel very well, whatever you're grabbing, bring it right to your face. Yeah. So because bringing it really, really close to your face to ensure that you can see it, because again, the dexterity in these is not good.
So the one thing I'm thinking about with all of this as well, if it was 30 degrees outside, it'd be like, okay, now I'm at least dressed for it.
Yeah, right.
I just look at the summer we had when you've got 94, 95 degree days, and you're putting on the heaviest of winter clothing that you would ever have, and then going into a fire. So what about you overheating? What's the likelihood of a fireman overheating?
Oh, it happens. It happens quite often. Again, where I work, I'm fortunate because we have the personnel. So we, whenever you come out, there are some departments, again, every department varies a little bit. There are some departments that basically, when you go through one cylinder, you're out, you go to rehab, you get your vitals taken, you get to eat, you get to drink.
Oh, wow.
Where I work, which I love because we're so aggressive, we come out, we get a new bottle, we go back in. Obviously, health,
under check.
Yeah, correct. A lot of what we do is self-check. So if I'm not feeling it, I go to rehab. We do have rehab set up. We have a big truck there that's got food, drinks, EMTs and medics there to be able to take our vitals. But yeah, overheating is definitely a big, especially, just like you were saying, the summer months. Again, I'm very fortunate to work for a department that prioritizes our people, so we will hire overtime on a really, really hot day. We'll hire extra people to ensure that we have as many people there as we need.
Yeah. So one last thing that hits me. So in the summer, you're sweating so much, and you talked about water is an enemy inside of the jacket. So what do you do with sweat and all of a sudden the steam and the burn that you can get? So your sweat could actually be really detrimental.
It absolutely can. Which again is why having a second set of gear is really important, because where I work, we do have a potential to have 2-3 fires in a day. So when I come home, even if my gear is not necessarily dirty per se, to the visual aspect of it, I could have my gear could be soaking wet inside, and that's not, we don't obviously want that, because again, that's where that steam burn really comes in. So the sweat inside your gear, on top of it being very difficult to put your stuff back on, because again, if you were to envision the heaviest of winter coat and you're sweating and then you take that off and go try to put it back on, it's going to be very, very difficult.
Yeah, so your underclothing, you're probably, I could see myself going through 5 shirts a day with no problem, because I sweat so much.
Absolutely, and guys do. We have guys that, and we wear our station gear under that. I typically just wear my uniform pants and shirt. A lot of guys wear shorts in the summertime. I typically don't wear shorts just for comfort. I like the pants. Yeah. So and then getting all this on top of all that, definitely sweats and moisture inside that is definitely a known problem.
Yeah. Crazy. Well, hey, hopefully this was just kind of interesting to you. It definitely is to me. I like gear and equipment and stuff like that. But we're going to transition now. Yeah. Right? Because the first thing I want to transition into is the protective mindset. All right? All of the gear is great, but the gear did not come first. The mindset came first. The mindset to protect. Like, why do we need to protect? Like, why does a guy feel the need to run into a fire? That's just stupid. That doesn't make sense, right? So let's talk a little bit about protecting our family, and let's talk about the mindset. So I do want to transition a little bit. You have a mindset of protection. Do you think you were taught the mindset, or was that in you, then that's what got you into firefighting?
That's a great question.
That's why I asked it.
I know. You're full wisdom there.
Full,
man, I don't know if it was getting into this profession and falling in love with it that kind of instilled that idea of protection. I've always felt that men are called to protect. So it was more of a natural fit. But once I've got into this profession and I'm full on. I love what I do. I love every aspect of what I do. Man, that protection is so near and dear to me, because that's why I do what I do. And I understand that when I go to work, the citizens that I'm called to protect, they come first for me. Yeah. Like, and I will do. We've talked about before. I carry a mission statement card on me that tells me that I'm gonna give significant risk to gain a significant reward, i.e. the citizen. So I'm going to give everything I have, that protection. I'm going to do everything I can to ensure that they are protected. Yeah.
So the first part of this, guys, when you're thinking about the level that Kyle is at in a day-to-day protective role, or the level that you and I are in our home, we have to have a mindset of protection. Yeah. That does not mean protecting against bumps and bruises and scrapes. Right. It's protecting against the big things that can devastate and damage the people that we care about, right? Yeah. The people that we are willing to have a high risk and reward payoff for.
But I think when it comes to the idea of protection, I think it's important. Like, as men, we need to realize we are protected because there is a battle that's raging on. Like, there is actual things that are going on in our world, whether it be, we talk about spiritual warfare, whether it be, what your kids are dealing with, whether it be, bullies, whatever that, like, every day, man, there's battles going on, and we need to understand that. Like, if we just say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to protect my family," but then don't realize, like, what am I protecting them from? Like, there's so much in this world that we need to ensure that we are in that protective mode.
Yeah. So let's run through a couple of them. Yeah. Okay. So one of the first things that we are as men, and this is our challenge to you, all right, to stop sidestepping it, stop putting it off on mom. All right. Yeah. You are a provider, and provision is part of protection. And so first and foremost, it should be in your mindset that you're going to be able to buy the gear, okay? Yeah. In other words, the house, the cars, the insurance policies. In other words, this is not somebody else's problem. It is part of, those are the tools that you use to protect. And as a strong dad, you don't sit back and go, well, hopefully somebody will provide that. No, you seek your equipment out that you're going to need. And if that's, what kind of house am I going to put my kids in? What's the safety level of that house going to be? What comfort level is going to be provided for? That's my job as a dad. My wife can contribute to that, but I've got to lead the charge on that and make that important. So that is one area, first and foremost, that us guys need to own.
Yeah, and more, yes, providing that. Man, I would say the maintenance is just as important, if not more, because if I were to have my fire gear and then just put it on and go into the fire and never maintain it and never ensure that it is in proper working order, it's not going to do me any good.
Right.
It's not going to protect me. It's not going to be there when we always talk about take care of the things that are going to take care of you. Yeah. Man, my gear is at the forefront of that. I want to ensure, if I were just to get this set and then never go over it, never wash it, never ensure that it is in proper working order, I'm going to be, it's going to hurt me in the long run.
Yeah, and so I will call that out in the sense of, you and I are pretty handy in mechanical. So we do a lot of the maintenance around the things that provide the protection, our home, our cars, those kind of things. But let's say you're a guy out there and you're like, yeah, right, well, I'm not mechanical. That's not our point, all right? That's not our point. Our point is you get it covered. All right. If you're mechanical, go ahead and you do it. If you're not mechanical, it ought to be on your calendar to provide reminders to yourself to call somebody who can help cover you. Okay. Mm-hmm. You don't probably go back and rebuild your air tanks. All right. But when they're needing to be rebuilt, you know who to call. Yeah. All right. And so that's that whole idea. Don't make up the excuse or feel inferior that you don't know how to do a certain thing. No, now you're just being a victim. Instead, jump in and go, okay, yeah, it's my deal. I need to cover it. All right. So car repair, house repair, the furnace, the air conditioner, all those things, that should be on your deal to take care of as a strong dad and not leaving it to your wife. All right. Yep. You're doing it for her benefit, for her protection.
I like it. So, as we keep talking about, things that we need to instill and need to prioritize what we protect, man, I would say your marriage has to be something that you're willing to protect at all costs. Your marriage has to be worth fighting for in every aspect. So even when you're in the midst of a battle, when you're in the midst of an argument, when you're in the midst of disagreements, man, protecting that marriage at all costs, golly, it should go without saying, but unfortunately in our society it's not, because we in society have accepted the easy way out of divorce. And man, protecting your marriage at all costs has to be of the utmost importance for you in your home, because what it does drastically for your kids. And again, I know there's guys that are listening to this that have gone through a divorce, and if that's you, man, I'm praying for you, and I hope that what you're going through, I hope you can come out the other side and understand mistakes that were made. We talk about this selfishness that goes into divorce. Man, prioritize your marriage at all costs.
Kyle, you are so spot on. So hear what he's talking about here. And the work that I do in marriage and family coaching, more often than not, I have the ladies stepping up and protecting their marriage.
Yeah.
That they should protect their marriage, but you should be leading the protection of your marriage. Yeah. And what's even worse is us as men, we don't even identify what is attacking our marriage. The pornography, the alcohol, the time spent at work, the money expenditure. These are the things that you have to aggressively go after and say, oh, wait, that's going to hurt my marriage. Rather than putting it off on somebody else, you are the protector. And so if pornography or alcohol or money expenditure or time or hobbies, any of those things, listen, it doesn't mean you're never going to get off track. It's when you do, you recognize it. You recognize, I need to do some maintenance here, okay? That is part of your protection. Don't leave that to your wife. When you are having a struggle in your marriage, like you and your wife are butting heads or you're not seeing things right, it is up to you to do the work to say, okay, I need to eat a little humble pie here, and I need to go and speak with my wife, and we need to figure out how to fix this. And if that means I need to do something different, a different training, a different approach, then that's what I have to do, because I'm protecting the marriage. So that's a great point that you bring up with that side of things.
Yep. So I mean, when it comes to the idea of protection, man, I would say protecting our faith has got to be a priority. Ensuring that your faith inside your home is evident to your kids, is evident to your wife, and I'll be the first to admit this is something that we talk a lot at work. It's really easy to be lazy and to sit back and to not go out and train and not get better at our job. And I think the exact same for me. I know it is so much easier for me to be passive about my relationship with Christ, be passive about my faith, than it is to attack that and to be aggressive, because I think God is calling men to be aggressive in their faith. Like, go after, like, what is that relationship? How is that relationship with Christ portrayed to your wife? How is it portrayed to your kids? Because I know for me, sometimes I don't think that my wife sees my relationship with Christ as a top priority like I want it to.
Right.
And part of that is just because of, again, just similar to when I'm at work, the idea of just, I'm just going to sit here and watch a movie instead of going out and training. And man, I at my firehouse, we call each other out on that. Like, hey, bro, we got to get outside. We got to work on this. And the same can be said about, you and I holding each other accountable, holding your friends accountable, holding the guys in your life accountable. Man, go out there and be aggressive in your faith.
Right, man, that's so important, that whole idea. Well, why our faith, right? Why do I need our faith? Your faith is your ultimate chief. Okay, so in your firehouse, even though you may not agree or understand or like the guy who's calling the orders,
sure,
you learn to follow the orders because it helps the big group.
Yep.
All right, and if there's nothing worse than a renegade, a lone wolf, that's how guys get killed.
Yeah.
When we are a renegade in life, meaning I will be my own God, I will determine my own rules based on my own opinion and experiences, I will hurt myself and my family. And so that's why the idea of I'm going to go to the chief, the king, the Lord. I'm going to go because that's where all of the cascading of how I'm going to live, how it comes down. Okay, so that's why I need my common faith, and I want my wife to understand that. I want her to understand so that we are on the same page. We're both going to the same leader. Yeah. So faith is huge. How about this? I mean, we could go on and talk about protection things all day. Yeah. How about protecting our kids? All right. What are you protecting your kids from? Now they're back in school.
They are.
Right? Do you go to school every day and beat up the little boys who try to pick on your girls?
As much as I would want. As much as I want. Jenny and I talk about this a lot. Man, along with God, because I truly do believe God is going to be truly the one that's going to protect my girls' hearts. But man, I want to protect my girls' hearts and my girls' reputation. Those are two things that I hold so true, because man, when my girls do start dating, and when my girls, are under peer pressure, and they're going to get to an age when that peer pressure of, hey, let's go try this, hey, let's do this, that's going to happen. Man, I want my girls' reputation to be at the forefront of whoever that person is that is pressuring them to do stuff, whether that is a boy, whether that is another friend. Man, I want their reputation, because that reputation will stay with you forever. Right. And again, some people may say the reputation is more of an earthly thing. Like, yes, I would love my girls. I want my girls to be God-fearing women that are going after the Lord, that want to use Jenny and I's marriage as an example of what they want. Absolutely, I for sure 100% want that. But my girl's reputation and my girl's heart, I want to protect at all costs.
Yeah. So how do I help them to do that? One, I teach them self-defense. Right? I teach them self-defense. Self-defense comes in all different forms. Literally physical self-defense. Yeah. So with my older boys, especially, well, all of my boys.
Your older boys could probably
they might be able to handle me a little bit. Right? That would be a short battle. But that whole idea of teaching them for the boys, teach them how to wrestle, teaching them how to engage, teach them how to take a punch, teach them how to punch, okay? That's the physical side. How about with the girls? Same thing, all right? Teaching them how to use their words right, teaching them how to defend themselves, all right? That's the physical side. But there's a greater side. And especially in this world, because a lot of our kids are very protected from physical harm already by just the nature of how we've set up our culture. But how about the computer? How about the internet? Protecting them, like not just saying, no, you can't look at the computer, but teaching them how to defend yourself with the computer, how to have the spine to stand up, like, no, I don't need to look at that stuff, all right, on the computer. I don't need to waste this much time on the computer, all right? Those are my protective educations as well as boundaries that I need to set up to protect my kids. At the end of the day, when you walk in the fire, your chief's not right there, right? At the end of the day, you're out there and you've got to figure it out and you've got to do the job. One of the things that we see on a major epidemic kind of level is kids who can't figure out how to protect themselves because they don't even know what they're protecting. And so part of our job is to teach them, hey, at the end of the day, you're going to go to school. You're going to go to college. You're going to be away from mommy and daddy.
Yep.
You better have your head on straight and know how to deal with this stuff. And this is a dad job.
Yep.
Moms help and they can be really part of this, but the idea that I stress to my kids, you're going to be a survivor. You're going to be a survivor, and I'm going to help you learn how to survive. I'm going to put that in your gut so that when you look at a place that seems threatening or a person that seems threatening, you have a plan in your head and you're not in panic mode or anxiety.
Yeah, cool. Because similar to not having a chief in a fire, like that idea that as parents, we can't micromanage our kids. We have to give them the skills and abilities that they need in order to go out there. We need to show them what protection looks like, in hopes that when those opportunities do arise, that protection mode, that idea of self-defense, when those modes come into play, where if you're if you're over top of them the whole time, and whatever the situation, when it comes to internet, when it comes to peer pressure, like if you're always there, as much as I would love to go to school and let little Johnny give him one of those, right? When he's talking to Ava that way, like I also have to give her the skills. I can't just always be there with her, because our kids are gonna be away from us from time, so we have to give them those skills. We can't micromanage that.
Right, and so as we kind of close things out, that's really leads us into the practice, the daily practice. As we talked about from the beginning, if Kyle had all this equipment, it was laid out to him day one of the fire department, and said, hey, look at your cool equipment, and this can help you in this, and this does that, and they give you all of the ins and outs, and you let it sit there, it would be meaningless to you. Teaching your kids self-defense, teaching your kids about the internet, and never practicing it is next to worthless. It's actually even probably more dangerous because it gives them a false sense of, oh, I could probably do that if I had to. And so the practice, what does practice look like? Literally, if it's physical training, it means we're actually doing that. Like, we're going to wrestle, we're going to take self-defense classes, we're going to do these things. It's talk, right? Teaching our kids. It's prayer, teaching our kids daily. All right, these are the practices. If this one and done, we did that whole show of one and done, right? I'd like to just show you one time how to do it and you're good. But listen, we're not good at stuff. I don't carry a gun with me. And the reason why I don't carry a gun, I don't know if I should say that, right? Because now someone's going to pick me off. I don't carry a gun, and the reason, I have guns, I have pistols, but the reason why I don't carry a gun with me is because I don't put the time in to train with it. All right? I shoot once, twice, 3 times a year, and it's usually for recreation and fun because I enjoy doing that. So the idea that I would put a pistol on me and carry it as if I knew what I was doing is dangerous and stupid, okay? I'd have more likely to cause harm than good. So I'm not opposed to the concealed carry, but the day that I carry will be the day that I commit to the practice. I commit to the practice, and that's just being real. That's part of it, all right? And if you can't practice it, if you can't do it, then get the systems in place that can, all right? So whether you go elsewhere to get trained, you send your kids, you send your wife, get them trained up and practice.
Well, and similar to firefighting in my setup, my gear, man, I will never be able to train like it's a real fire.
Right.
Like I can put a lot of things in place, similar to us as dads and as husbands. Man, you will continually train or hopefully train yourself to prepare yourself to be in those protective modes. But when it comes time to be in that protective mode and actually doing the dirty work, actually getting there and doing it, fighting that actual fire, man, those are going to be learning experiences. So I can't tell you the number of times we get done with a fire, we come back at the kitchen table like, hey, what could we have done better? That, the next time we see something similar to this, how are we going to respond to that? And the same can be said about us, man. When you do fail at a time of protection, like it's not a time to sulk. Like, let's get better. Let's own those situations. Hey, I messed up here. The next time this situation arises, I'm gonna respond this way.
Right.
Like those are great. Not to say we shouldn't train outside of those actual times when it needs to be. But man, when those do happen, you should always look at it and always say, I could have done this better. I could have done this different. And so maybe that's our homework for this week. Man, go look at different situations when those protective modes should have came out and maybe you didn't step up the right way, right? Or like what are those situations? Like, let's start training ourselves. Let's start getting in a mode to be ready for those opportunities when they do arise, because they're gonna be there. We've talked before on this show. We've read verses about how the devil is prowling around.
He's roaring lion.
He's gonna devour, similar to a fire. A fire doesn't care that I have all this fancy gear on. The fire doesn't care that I put hours and hours and hours of training. That fire wants to do one thing. It wants to destroy me. And the exact same thing can be said about the devil. That's all he wants to do is destroy you. So if we're not on our game, man, like we're already behind the 8 ball.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap things up. The whole idea here is you have to have the mindset of protector, right? And the gear, the resources, the training, the practice, that is on you. You are a man. Let's act like a man. This is your place. This is not a cultural debate. You were designed to be the guy who goes into the storm, the guy who goes to the front lines, the guy who steps in front of the idiot who's trying to pick on your family. You are designed that way. You are given the body to do it and the mind to do it. All right? Do not let that be just pulled away from you and then you relinquish it to somebody else, your wife, some organization. It is yours. Own it. All right? Yeah. Let's say thanks to our sponsors.
Yeah, we definitely should.
So we want to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions and the Kramer's Beer House for coming alongside Strong Dads and continuing to just believe in us and our messaging. Do us a favor. Share these shows. Give us 5-star ratings. Share these shows. Click on our shows and then send those shows out to other guys. Maybe this show is not the one that hit your button, but you know a guy right now who his family's under attack. Yeah. If you know a guy who's under attack, he needs to hear this message. Don't let it sit there. Pass on the word. This is part of us training each other. All right. Kyle makes me better because he comes in and he looks at where I'm falling weak and he goes, hey, what are you doing with that? Yeah. And then I have to make up some silly excuse as to why I'm not, and he calls me out, right? And I have to do the same thing for him. I'm not offended by that. That is us challenging each other. So share our shows, have the conversation, hold each other accountable.
Yep, love it. Reach out to Rock Solid Families. Merle and Linda would love to come alongside you guys, help you out if you're struggling in your marriage, if you're struggling in your relationship with Christ. Like, man, whatever you're dealing with, reach out. Don't be afraid to ask for that wisdom and that help, because I know Merle and Linda would love to talk to you guys about that. Really appreciate you guys. Continue to share our shows. Thanks for letting me share my gear. And,
it's cool stuff, man.
Yeah, I love it. Go out there and meet some strong dads.
But it still smells, man. Like,
it smells
why
bad.
Why did you not clean it?
I just got off this morning.
All right. That's good stuff.
Hey, this is Kyle Crawford from Strong Dads. Strong Dads podcast would love to thank the Kramer's Beer House for coming alongside of us. The Kramer's Beer House was started in 1982 by the Kramer family, and since that time, they have definitely become a Cincinnati favorite. So if you're looking for an incredible meal in an incredible setting, definitely go down to Route 128 and check out the Kramer's Beer House.